You've been watching for a sign, my dear. Some clear proof that things are truly moving in your favor. But signs rarely arrive the way we expect them to. Loud and obvious. Impossible to miss. More often, they arrive quietly, in small coincidences. Small moments of unexpected ease. What if one has already appeared, and you simply haven't noticed it yet? Breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, whisper softly, I am open to seeing what is already here. Feel how different that feels from searching desperately, how much lighter it feels. To simply notice instead of chase. A woman once said the moment she stopped demanding a sign, 3 small ones appeared within the same week. What had shifted in her that allowed them to finally be seen? This isn't superstition, it's simply attention. And attention has a way of revealing what worry usually hides. When the mind is anxious, it narrows, searching only for danger, only for what's missing or wrong. When the mind softens, it widens, and suddenly there is room to notice quiet, ordinary miracles. Tonight, let your attention widen just slightly and see what has been quietly waiting for you all along, patient and unhurried, right where you left it. Have you noticed how the harder you grip something, the more it seems to slip away from you entirely? While the moment you finally relax your hold, the very thing you wanted often finds its way back naturally. This isn't coincidence, my dear. It's a pattern as old as trust itself, repeating quietly in every corner of life. Real-world example makes this easier to feel than any explanation could offer. A man once said he spent months forcing a decision that refused to resolve, no matter how hard he pushed. The moment he finally said, I release this and trust the timing, the answer arrived within days. He hadn't expected surrender itself to be the missing piece all along. The pattern here is subtle but remarkably consistent for nearly everyone who notices it. Force tightens the nervous system, and a tightened nervous system perceives fewer options, fewer paths forward, fewer possibilities worth considering. Trust loosens that grip, and in that loosened space, solutions the mind couldn't see before begin to quietly appear. What you've been forcing may simply be waiting for you to finally stop forcing it and let it arrive on its own. Notice, just for a moment, how tightly your hands are resting right now. Let them loosen, just slightly. Let your jaw loosen too. Notice how much lighter simply releasing feels than holding on ever did. Nature never rushes, my dear, and yet somehow everything it creates arrives exactly when it's ready to arrive. A flower doesn't force itself open before spring. A tide doesn't argue with the moon about when to rise. There is a rhythm behind all of this, quiet and unshakable, and you are part of that same rhythm. The roots of the mountain like a howl of the rhythm. What if your timing has been perfect all along? Older traditions spoke of this rhythm as something sacred, something to be trusted rather than controlled or rushed. A grandmother once told her granddaughter that worry never once made a seed grow faster, only patience did. Modern minds, so used to control, often resist this idea until they finally experience it directly. What might change if you stopped measuring your life against a clock that was never truly yours? People who begin trusting this rhythm often describe an unexpected sense of relief settling over them almost immediately, as if a weight they'd been carrying for years was never actually theirs to carry in the first place. It isn't passivity, it's partnership, working with time instead of constantly fighting against it. And in that partnership, something in you finally exhales completely, deeply, all the way down, the way a tightly held breath finally releases. As we continue into this, there's a quiet reason certain things in life only arrive after you finally stop chasing them so hard. Resistance rarely shows up without a reason, my dear, even when that reason isn't obvious to you at first. Sometimes it protects you from disappointment, sometimes from change, sometimes from simply feeling too much all at once. Tonight, instead of fighting your resistance, let's gently ask it what it's been trying to protect. Place your hand over your heart and whisper, "Thank you for trying to protect me. I am safe to let go now." Feel how strange that sentence might sound at first, and how quickly your chest responds anyway. A woman once said her resistance softened the instant she stopped treating it as an enemy and started treating it as a frightened friend. What was her resistance finally allowed to release in that gentle moment? Like you said. This isn't about forcing resistance away. It's about understanding it enough that it no longer needs to fight so hard against you. Fear softens the instant it feels acknowledged rather than pushed against, much like a child who simply wants to be heard and understood. Once resistance feels safe, it quietly steps aside, making room for trust to finally enter. And trust, once it enters, tends to stay far longer than force ever could, settling in like something that always belonged there. There is a specific moment, my dear, when the desperate need to know exactly how something will unfold finally softens. Most people rush past this moment, gripping tighter instead of loosening, yet it holds enormous quiet power. Tonight, let's slow down enough to actually notice it arriving within you. Breathe in, and as you exhale, whisper, "I don't need to know how, I only need to trust that it's happening." Feel your shoulders drop slightly further. Feel your breath deepen without needing to force it. A retired teacher once said the day she stopped needing every detail explained was the same day her life began flowing more easily. What changed in her the moment she finally released her grip on knowing? The mind believes safety comes from certainty, yet certainty is rarely available when we most demand it from life. Trust offers something different, not certainty but steadiness, a quiet confidence that things are unfolding even when unseen. Once trust replaces the need to know, the nervous system finally exhales, freed from constant, exhausting vigilance. And in that exhale, space opens for exactly what you've been waiting for, arriving in its own unhurried way. Old traditions understood patience differently than most modern minds do, my dear, not as passive waiting, but as active trust. They believed patience itself was a kind of prayer, a quiet vote of confidence cast toward the universe. Somewhere along the way, this understanding faded, replaced by urgency, by constant checking, by impatience disguised as productivity. An elderly man once said his mother taught him that patience wasn't about doing nothing. It was about doing your part and then releasing the rest. He still repeats this to himself, decades later, whenever he feels the urge to force an outcome. What is it about releasing the rest that brings such immediate, noticeable relief? The pattern many notice is emotional rather than purely philosophical in nature, though both play a role. Patience, practiced sincerely, seems to lower the anxious edge that constant urgency otherwise creates in the body. It isn't about giving up. It's about trusting that your part has been done, and the rest belongs to timing. That small trust seems to quietly protect your peace no matter how long the waiting stretches on. Just for a moment, imagine the exact thing you've been waiting for finally arriving, gently, in its own perfect time. Notice how calm even the simple thought of that arrival feels inside you right now. Many people expect miracles to announce themselves, dramatic and unmistakable, impossible to overlook or doubt. But miracles, my dear, usually arrive quietly, disguised as ordinary moments most people rush straight past without noticing. Tonight, let's slow down enough to recognize what quiet miracles might actually look like. A phone call at exactly the right moment, a stranger's small kindness, a door that opens after months of staying firmly shut. None of these announce themselves as miracles, yet each one often is exactly that, quietly, without fanfare. A woman once said she nearly missed the biggest blessing of her year because it arrived looking like an ordinary Tuesday. What miracle might be quietly waiting inside your own ordinary days right now? The mechanism here is simple. though rarely discussed in everyday conversation between people. Miracles tend to arrive through ordinary channels, people, timing, small circumstances, rather than through dramatic, obvious interventions. Recognizing this shifts how closely you pay attention to the small, seemingly unremarkable moments filling your days. And once you begin noticing them, they seem to multiply, quietly, one gentle coincidence at a time. Waiting and trusting can look nearly identical from the outside, my dear, yet they feel entirely different from within. Waiting often carries tension, a held breath, a constant checking of the clock or the phone. Trusting carries something softer, a steadiness that doesn't need constant reassurance to remain calm. A man once described the difference perfectly, saying, "Waiting felt like standing at a door, knocking anxiously again and again, while trusting felt like sitting quietly nearby, knowing the door would open exactly when it was ready to." He hadn't expected such a small shift in posture to change his entire emotional experience so completely. The nervous system responds differently to each of these two postures, even though both involve simply waiting for something. Waiting anxiously keeps the body in mild, constant alert, subtly braced for disappointment at every turn. Trusting calmly allows the body to rest, to soften, to remain open without the exhausting vigilance. Tonight, notice which posture you've been holding and gently, without judgment, choose the softer one instead. There is a moment, my dear, when holding on simply becomes more exhausting than releasing ever could be. Most people resist that moment for as long as possible, afraid that letting go means giving up entirely. But letting go tonight means something different, something gentler than most people expect. Whisper softly, "I release my grip, and I trust what happens next." Feel your hands unclench, your jaw soften, your whole body settle a little deeper into wherever you're resting. A woman once said the moment she finally let go of an outcome she'd been forcing for years, the exact thing she wanted arrived within the month. What had she been unknowingly blocking simply by holding on so tightly? Letting go isn't giving up. It's making room, clearing space for something new to finally enter. The tighter the grip, the smaller the space available for anything unexpected or better to arrive. Once the grip loosens, possibility widens. Quietly, the way a clenched fist slowly opens into an open palm, and in that open palm, life finally has room to place what it's been waiting to give you. Underneath every doubt, my dear, there is often a quieter voice that has known the truth all along. Doubt is loud, urgent, insistent, but the quieter voice beneath it tends to be steady, calm, unshaken. Tonight, let's listen past the doubt, toward whatever has been patiently waiting underneath it. Breathe in, and as you exhale, whisper, "Beneath my doubt, I already know I am supported." Feel how different that sentence lands compared to arguing with the doubt directly, trying to out-reason it. A young man once said that the moment he stopped fighting his doubt and simply listened beneath it, he found unexpected calm. What was that quieter voice trying to tell him all along? Doubt often speaks first because it's louder, more urgent, demanding immediate attention and quick reassurance. But underneath it, patiently, is usually a steadier knowing, one that doesn't need to shout to be true. Tonight, instead of silencing your doubt, simply listen past it, toward whatever has been waiting quietly beneath. That quieter voice, once heard, tends to bring a peace doubt could never quite offer. We often believe things are late, my dear, arriving behind some invisible schedule we created without even realizing it. But time, universal time, doesn't work the way our anxious minds imagine it does. Tonight, let's gently release the idea that anything has ever truly arrived too late. A woman once said she spent years believing she was behind in life, only to look back and realize every delay had actually protected her. What she once called lateness turned out to be perfect timing wearing an unfamiliar disguise. What might you currently be calling late that is actually still simply arriving right on schedule? The mind measures time against expectation, and expectation is often built from comparison, from watching others, from arbitrary timelines. Universal timing measures nothing against anyone else. It simply unfolds according to readiness, alignment, and quiet preparation. Nothing you are waiting for is late. It is simply still becoming ready to arrive. And that becoming is happening now, even in this exact quiet moment. There is a door, my dear, that so many people push against for years without it ever budging. And then, the moment they finally stop pushing, step back, and simply breathe, it quietly swings open on its own. Tonight, let's imagine that door together, gently. Without forcing anything at all, whisper one final time, I release my grip, I trust the timing, I let the door open when it's ready. Let those words become softer with each repetition until they feel less like effort and more like simply breathing. A woman once said that the exact week she finally stopped pushing, the opportunity she'd been chasing for years suddenly appeared. That is exactly the kind of quiet unfolding available to you as well. This door doesn't need your force to open, only your willingness to finally step back and trust. Whatever you've been pushing against tonight is welcome to simply rest, released gently into the universe's own timing. You don't need to know when the door will open, only that it will, in its own perfect moment. Simply breathe now, and let the rest happen without you needing to push any further. There is nothing left for you to force tonight, my dear. Only breath, only trust, only quiet, patient surrender. You've spoken gently to your resistance, your doubt, your grip, and each one has softened just a little. That softening doesn't end the moment this meditation does. It continues quietly through the night and into your days ahead. The universe has heard you, my dear, in the same patient way it always has, without needing convincing. You don't have to check on it. You don't have to manage it. You only have to trust it completely. Let your breathing grow slower now. Let your thoughts grow fewer and further apart, like stars fading gently into early morning light. If a thought of doubt drifts through, simply let it pass, the way a cloud passes without needing your permission or your attention. Whatever you've been waiting for is still arriving, quietly, in its own perfect and unhurried timing. Whatever felt late has never actually been late. It has simply been becoming ready the whole time, without your effort. You are safe here, in this quiet trust, in this soft surrender, in this moment that asks nothing further of you. Notice how much lighter you feel already, how much less you need to hold on to than you did an hour ago. Let go now, unhurried, the way trust always has, wrapping around you like something warm and familiar. There is no timeline you need to force, no door you need to push, only this, only rest, only the quiet permission you've been giving yourself tonight. And when the miracle finally arrives, however it arrives, know that it was always on its way, quietly, patiently, the entire time you were learning to trust. Whatever you carried into tonight, you don't have to carry the same way tomorrow. Something has already shifted here, even if only slightly, even if only for tonight. Rest now, gently, my dear. You are held. You are supported. Your timing is unfolding exactly as it should. And this quiet trust will still be here, holding you gently for as long as you need.